All right. Well, it looks like the others have not joined yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I don't want to keep everyone so long. So I will just keep an eye on people trying to join and try to let them in as we go. Before we begin, I will introduce myself, but first I wanted to share this graphic of the College Connection Center. So this just has all of our info you need to know on it. So this webinar, we will be talking about understanding financial aid, and it's presented by the College Connection Center. The College Connection Center provides free resources for college-bound students, particularly during the summer when it might be hard to get connected to your high school counselor or your college counselor, that kind of thing. So we're on Twitter, you can text us, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, you can email us, you can go to our website that's got a bunch of helpful resources on it. We'll be doing webinars each Wednesday at 1. So this is our first one, really. We did one last week, but it was mostly just a kickoff of the CCC. So you can go to our website and find the future topics on there. And then immediately following this webinar, not necessarily immediately following, but after 2:30 to 5, we have free drop-in college advising hours. So it'll be kind of similar to this presentation, except for I won't be sharing my screen. We'll just be meeting, talking about whatever it is you need to talk about. So Wednesdays are my day. So that's the day that I'll be manning the hours. So if after this session you need some help with your FAFSA or application or enrollment or anything college related, you can hop on to that link there, tinyurl.com/get connected to college, and I will be ready to advise you on that. So now that I've kind of given you a quick brief overview of the College Connection Center, told you about today's virtual advising, we will go ahead and move forward with introductions. Oh, that just shows today's webinar topic. All right, so introduction. So who am I? So some of you may be receiving text messages from me. My name is Brittany. I am the College Transition and Retention Coordinator for Missouri College Advising Corps. If you get text messages from me, that's because I work with your college advisor from your high school, and they forwarded on your info to me. If you don't get text messages from me, it's something you might be interested in, you can go to you can go to my email and let me know, and I will get you signed up. But who am I? So that's kind of the boring stuff. But I was a first gen college student. So when I started college a long time ago, I'd never been to college. None of my family had been to college. I didn't really know anyone that had been to college. I ended up choosing Mizzou, so University of Missouri Columbia, and I did undergrad school and grad school at Mizzou. So in undergrad, I actually ended up getting a general studies degree. So if that's something you're kind of curious about, feel free to ask questions. And then in grad school, I pursued a master's in social work and a master's in public health. So I actually got 2 master's degrees. I'm a dog mom, so that's Hercules and Molly. They're actually over there somewhere in the living room right now, probably sleeping. But I'm a big dog person. I'm a fitness fanatic, so I got into like working out and exercising probably, I don't know, end of undergrad towards beginning of grad, because the freshman 15 is real, y'all. So make sure you're staying on top of that. But I like to run, I like to lift, play sports. I'm a huge sports fan. So probably my top sports and top teams would be St. Louis Blues, Kansas City Chiefs. I follow Sporting KC if anyone's familiar with soccer. I've recently gotten into the NWSL, which is the National Women's Soccer League. And for that team, I kind of follow the Red Stars because I'm a big Julie Ertz fan. But otherwise, I'm really just a big sports fan. So I follow all kinds of sports, soccer, golf, football, baseball. I'm not super into basketball, but I could be convinced. I've always said that I could pretty much cheer and get into like any sport out there because I love sports. So something kind of connected to this particular webinar, I actually lost a grant in undergrad because of a late FAFSA submission. So we're going to be talking all about financial aid today, and I just want to kind of have a little bit of transparency with you guys. Like I said, I was a first-gen college student. I didn't understand deadlines and when things needed to be submitted, and I had received a grant my freshman year, submitted my FAFSA late sophomore year, and lost that grant. So that was free money I missed out because I missed a deadline. So that's on me. So make sure you're meeting your deadlines. I'm a daily Animal Crossing player, so if you guys have the new Animal Crossing New Horizons, I've been playing it daily. I'm not a huge video game player, but I do try and play about 30 to 45 minutes on that every day just because it's something fun, something kind of mindless to do, especially when we're all mostly stuck at home. So that's something I've been doing. And then again, related to today, I was chosen for FAFSA verification at least once in undergrad that I can remember. So verification is something that we'll talk about and we'll cover. but I just want to let you guys know, I went through a lot of these things similarly that you guys will probably experience in your college when I was in college. So it's okay if those are things that you're going through. So I introduced myself. So if you guys want to put in the chat, maybe just you don't necessarily put your name because I can see your name, but maybe the college you're considering attending and your major, that'd be great if you want to put that in the chat. That way we can begin to get to know each other. And while you guys are doing that in the chat, I will go over the objectives. So this looks like a really long list, but I promise we'll fly right through it. We're going to learn the definition of financial aid, understand important financial aid terms, identify 3 types of financial aid. We're going to look at some scholarship databases, understand the FAFSA process, which many of you have probably already gone through, but also verification process. We will gain understanding of the satisfactory academic progress policy. We're going to know the appeal process, or at least know how to get appeal help and what that means. And we're going to recognize the role of your financial aid advisor, because I think students don't always know what they can go to with their financial aid advisor. So be sure to chat. Whoops, messing up my screen share. Awesome, that is great. All right, so before we jump right in, if you guys want to follow this link, I will post it in the chat. We're going to create a word cloud about financial aid. So go ahead and follow that link and type what financial aid is to you. So using one word, type what financial aid is to you. I'm going to get the word cloud pulled up. All right, and we will be generating a word cloud. So make sure you guys are typing in there what financial aid is to you. You can submit multiple words or multiple submissions, but go ahead and click that and type what financial aid is to you. What does that mean? Loans, definitely. Financial aid definitely includes loans. We will talk about loans for sure. What else does financial aid mean to you? Are there any other words you guys can think of that financial aid is? Give you a hint, it's more than just loans. Anything else? All right, FAFSA, scholarships. Wonderful. If that's all, we'll go ahead and move forward. All right, so financial aid actually is money to help pay for college or career school. So think technical school, trade school, all that good stuff. And it includes grants, work study, loans, and scholarships that help make college or career school affordable. So it is loans, but it's also scholarships and grants. And a lot of people forget about work study or employment can also kind of be financial aid. Some students, particularly when they are texting me, refer to FAFSA and financial aid interchangeably. So they'll say, how do I get my FAFSA? Well, that's not necessarily accurate because the FAFSA is only a portion of your financial aid. That's not all of your financial aid picture. So try not to use those terms interchangeably because it can get kind of confusing. Like I said, FAFSA is included in financial aid, but it's not the same. The two terms don't equal each other. Some important terms to know, particularly some things we're going to go over today. So direct costs are expenses usually paid to the college. So think of those things like tuition, room and board. Those go directly to your college. Indirect costs are going to be expenses not paid directly to the college. So that's typically going to be like transportation, any meals that you want to eat off campus, any supplies that you might need. So textbooks sometimes can count unless your school provides those. Notebooks, computer, that kind of thing. Cost of attendance, so that's the total amount it will cost you to go to college each year. And a lot of times that's going to include direct costs and indirect costs. So when you see a school advertising their cost of attendance, keep in mind that that might not actually be what you end up paying right out of your pocket for that school. Expected family contribution. So this is the money the FAFSA expects that your family can contribute toward your college education. I put this on here because EFC is always something that frustrates a lot of students and frustrates a lot of people. Um, just because the FAFSA says your family has an EFC of $15,000 does not mean your family can actually submit $15,000, nor are they required to pay $15,000, or should they necessarily put $15,000 toward your education. That's just an algorithm that the FAFSA kind of comes up with to create this EFC number. Unfortunately, it does play a role in your financial aid, but when you see that number, try not to let it frustrate you, because unfortunately, it's just kind of the way the system is. There isn't really a workaround for that. And I understand that a lot of students will be like, well, my EFC is this, but my family actually isn't helping me pay. And that is unfortunate. It does tend to happen a lot. So keep that in mind. Demonstrated need. So there's that's the difference between your total college cost and your family's actually ability to pay. So I bring this up because there are schools out there that will cover your demonstrated need. So there are a lot of like private schools that will actually completely pay whatever it is that you still need in order to go to college. So for instance, if you've got grants and scholarships are already covering part of the tuition and then you still owe some, there are colleges that will just cover that demonstrated need for you, so that way you don't have to take on more loans. So I don't have the list with me right now, but you can look up schools on Google that will cover demonstrated need. And then the last term that's kind of important is net price. So this kind of goes in hand with the cost of attendance. Your net price is going to be the college price of tuition and fees minus grants and scholarships. So that's going to be more of a number that you want to kind of pay attention to, because that's going to reflect more what it is that you're going to have to pay to go to that school. All right, so there's three main types of financial aid. So if you guys want, back to the chat, you can type in what are the three types of financial aid that you guys know of. I'll give you a hint. They've already been mentioned. You guys think of the three types of financial aid? All right, well, the first type of financial aid are grants and scholarships. So grants and scholarships are going to be close. You're close even. Scholarships, yes. Loan, yes. FAFSA actually isn't necessarily considered a type. The other one is work study that we're going to talk about. So the first one we're going to talk about is grants and scholarships, and this gets bundled together because it's money you don't have to pay back. So grants and scholarships are typically awarded based on need or merit. So the Pell Grant is a need-based award, and that's something you get from the FAFSA. So that's where FAFSA comes into play as far as financial aid. It's a federal grant. It's, like I said, need-based, so it has to do with your income and your EFC. Merit-based, so think of those things like academic scholarships like Bright Flight, athletics, so if you get a full ride to a school because you're the best quarterback in your whole county. More special talents, so things like debate or things that maybe don't fall under academic or athletic, so theater, debate, maybe dance. Dance sometimes can be athletic based, it depends. And then there's also need based, so if you have financial need, sometimes still require work. So I say that because sometimes you still have like applications or essays you have to submit. They're not always just given out. And then ways you can find scholarship. So private organizations have grants and scholarships, public organizations, community-based. So think sometimes like churches or YMCAs or Boys and Girls Clubs or United Way or those kind of things in your community sometimes offer scholarships. Your university absolutely offers grants and scholarships. Make sure you understand your university or college's grants and scholarships deadlines. Some schools, when you submit your application, they take a look at your application, take a look at your transcript, and automatically submit each of those scholarships. Some schools, that might not be the case. You might have to submit an extra application to get involved in those. And then there's a lot more. So we're going to go real quick, if I can get my computer to work correctly, and look at some free money opportunities. So everybody loves free money. No one turns away free money. So these are just some opportunities that you guys could have to get free money, to get scholarships. So these are ones that I've recommended to students in the past. They're ones that I really like. Fastweb.com, if you're not familiar, you get to create a profile and they actually connect scholarships to you. What's great about fastweb.com is you can even get connected to internships and jobs. So that's a great one. Niche.com is really similar to Fastweb. You create a profile and they connect scholarships to you. College Greenlight not only provides scholarships, but they have tons of interactive activities. For instance, they've done college block parties virtually during this quarantine, where they've actually had college professionals come in and talk to students about different topics. And then the last one on here is the College Board Opportunity Scholarship. I think you guys are both seniors. I'm not for certain, but this one would be more geared towards the class of 2021. It's kind of cool though. You get to complete certain tasks, and as you complete certain tasks, such as research 3 schools, applied to 5 schools, submitted the FAFSA, did SAT or ACT prep, as you complete those things, it puts you in a pool for another scholarship, another scholarship, another scholarship. And then at the end, they award a $40,000 scholarship to, I believe, 25 students. So you can really tack on a lot of money. And even if you are not the class of 2021, College Board sells a lot of other great resources. So you can go check out their website. They've got some good COVID-19 resources. They've got some good just college tips and things. So they're definitely a great resource to check out. And I don't know if you guys love SpongeBob, but I've always liked SpongeBob. So that's why there's so many SpongeBob pictures. All right. So we've talked about grants and scholarships. You guys even said loans is another type, and that's absolutely right. Can't have financial aid without loans. Doesn't mean you have to take out loans, but they are a big part of financial aid. So loans are money you have to pay back with interest. So I don't know where you're both from, but in the St. Louis area, there is a scholarship group called the Scholarship Foundation, and they actually give out what's called a interest-free loan. So they don't provide a scholarship necessarily, but they provide a loan to you that has no interest on it. So that's actually really great because a big chunk of what you end up paying back is just money, is just interest money. So it's kind of a bummer when you're taking out $20,000, but then you end up paying back $30,000. What's great is next year, the Stafford loans, which we will talk about in just a second, those are federal government loans. The interest rate has dropped, like lowest it's been in a really long time, to 2.75%. That's really, really low. I wish that was the interest rate for my student loans, but it's not. But one thing that's great is you can go to loan calculators to get an idea of what you're going to pay. So we know that the interest rate, it's taking a while to load. Once it loads, we know that the interest rate is 2.75, and your student loan terms is going to be anywhere from 12 to 30 years. So let's just say 15 years for funsies, and it compounds daily. So interest on student loans compounds daily, which is a lot. And typically you will pay them back every month. We'll get into that in a second. But you can calculate. So if we were to take out a $100,000 loan, we would end up paying $22,000 in interest, which is a lot. Hopefully you won't take out a $100,000 loan because that is a lot of money. But you can go to this handy dandy loan calculator and get that figured out, or you can always meet with a financial aid advisor at your school, which we will also talk about. So federal government loans, there's a few different kinds. So subsidized is the best one. That's going to be when the U.S. Department of Education pays for the interest while you're enrolled in college at least half time. So as long as you are enrolled in college up to half time, which is usually, I want to say 9 credit hours, you'll have to check with your school. They will continue to pay that interest off on your loans and cover it. So it won't be accruing interest while you're in school. Unsubsidized loans, such a tricky word. The interest will accrue while you're in college. So that's not necessarily the best, but the interest rate, remember, is only 2.75. So you're getting a better interest rate on that loan than, say, a private loan, which we're going to talk about next. The Parent Plus loan is the last federal government loan that they offer, and this is usually offered for parents of students. So if your parent has really good credit and you have a small gap, you might consider this loan. Typically, people will tell parents to stray away because the interest rate is different from the first two, so it's not that 2.75. And you have to start paying it as soon as the loan is paid out. So as soon as that money from the Parent Plus loan is applied to your balance, this parent is required to start making payments. So the other two, you actually get to wait, and you won't pay them back until 6 months after you graduate. So while you're in school, you don't have to make any payments. It accrues or doesn't accrue interest depending on subsidized and unsubsidized. Then you get 6 months of a grace period, they call it. So a period where you don't have to make any payments until sorry, I'm probably getting confusing. You have 6 months where you don't make any payments after you graduate, and then when that 6 months is up, you start making payments on your loans. So that's why sometimes the Parent Plus loan people stray away from, because the interest rate is higher and to start paying it right away. If the Parent Plus loan is something you're interested in, you have to file that, apply for that separately online. So it's not something that the FAFSA just gives you. It might have shown up, or it might show up on your award letter as something that's offered to you, but to get it, you still have to make an extra application with your parent. Also, federal government loans may qualify for federal student loan forgiveness. I don't believe Parent Plus loans usually do, but subsidized and unsubsidized. I'm not going to go super in depth on that because I cannot predict the future, and I don't know if student loan forgiveness programs are going to exist much longer, but just keep that in mind, that there are sometimes loan forgiveness programs out there, but they're generally only geared toward federal loans. So private loans. So we've talked about grants and scholarships with our first type of aid. Now we're talking about loans. It's our second type of aid, but there's two different types of loans. So we talked about the federal government loans. Now we have private loans. So private loans come from banks, credit unions, state-based or state-affiliated organizations. So that Scholarship Foundation loan is a kind of a state-affiliated organization. Private loans may require a minimum credit score or a cosigner or both. So they all kind of vary, depends on where you go and what you find. But just keep that in mind, that it's not necessarily as easy as filling out an application and getting the money. The interest rates are usually a lot higher than the federal loans. I would predict that this year they definitely will be, since the federal loan rate dropped a lot. And many require payments while you're still in school. So a private loan that's through your name is going to have to be paid on while you're in school, which can be very stressful. So students should really only consider private education loans after you've maxed out your federal, your Stafford, your unsubsidized loans. I would probably even try and get your parent to complete the Parent Plus loan first before you go to a private loan, because that rate's even better. And the federal government loans are usually just better. And they're typically not eligible for loan forgiveness. So what we just talked about, they're typically not. So there is this really cool website from NerdWallet, which is actually a pretty good resource. And they've got the 13 best private student loans. And this is just June 2020. It says it just came out today, which is actually pretty awesome. But this just shows some other loans that you can get. So if you do have a gap, if you do have a little bit of unmet need that you need to cover, these are some places you can check, and you can see all of the information right on this website. And then you can go to their website by clicking this button over here. I think it's actually this button over here. But you can kind of compare the different loans. So again, I don't recommend students to complete private loans because the interest rates are higher. You got to start paying them right away. But if it comes down to going to school or not going to school, and you have a small amount of unmet need, a private loan can bridge that gap until you can get a better plan in the future to pay for it. All right, so our last type of aid, so remember we said that the three types of aid were grants and scholarships, loans, and employment programs. So work study, that's the last type of aid. So you've got your grants and scholarships, which is free money you don't have to pay back. It is usually need-based or merit-based. You've got your loans, which unfortunately is money you have to pay back. But then you have work study, which is kind of a unique creature. That's something that you're going to work for to earn. So it's not really a loan. It's not really a scholarship because you're working to get it, but you don't pay it back. So many schools do work study differently. And by that, I mean, some schools, they might pay you a lump sum up front, and then you've got to work the hours. Some schools might pay it out like a paycheck biweekly, which I actually participated in college, and I really liked, because then I could use that money towards rent or towards my bill or towards supplies, that kind of thing. So you need to find that out. And then also with work study, just because you're offered it doesn't necessarily mean that that's it. You're just going to get a job. A lot of times you have to seek out the work study positions at your school. So on the FAFSA, there's usually a button that says, do you want to be considered for work study? I always tell students to check that box, click yes, because even if you are not going to do work study, that's going to give you the option to do it. If you don't click yes, you might not get the option to do it at your school. So definitely look into the work study programs. There's all kinds of different ones. I think a lot of students think typically like the movies in college, like, oh, you work the front desk or you only do, you're an RA or that kind of thing, but that's not always the case. I actually did a Jumpstart AmeriCorps program where I worked with preschoolers for my work study. There are some tutoring positions. There are research positions. So if you're someone that wants to do a lot of research, you can get work study for that. There's all kinds of programs to just seek them out. And then the last one on here is there are actually some unique colleges where you work at the school to cover the tuition. So it's not really financial aid or an employment program, but something I wanted you guys to be aware of. One actually in Missouri is the College of the Ozarks. You might have heard of it. Basically how that works is they consider themselves tuition free. However, you're required to work so many hours every week. And I think actually at College of Ozarks, you have to work 2 40-hour weeks. And they actually switch around. So there's different, programs, I guess we'll go with, that you work for, which is kind of cool because you're going to get a lot of well-rounded skills is the word I was looking for. So that's a really great one. There are others, but just be mindful that like you are kind of signing a contract to work at those schools. And there might still be other expenses you have to pay for. So things like room and board, books, sometimes they have fees you have to pay. I think College of the Ozarks is actually one where you can work in the summer to get your room and board paid for. So that's kind of interesting, but you can look those schools up. Schools, a lot of times they're just kind of called like, what's the word I'm looking for? Having a big brain fart right now. Basically they're tuition free schools that you work for, that you work to cover the tuition. So they call themselves free tuition, but you still have to work. And one thing I just want to mention, a lot of times they don't accept federal aid because you work to cover the tuition. So keep that in mind also if it's something that you're interested in. They might not accept your FAFSA. All right, so now we're getting to the FAFSA. Many of you have already completed this, especially if you're going to school in the fall, or maybe you've started it, which if you started it and haven't finished submitting, you need to finish submitting it. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. So I included this on here, even though a lot of seniors have already completed it, because I think, again, students think that financial aid equals FAFSA, and they're actually two different things. The FAFSA is one way you apply for financial aid, but it doesn't necessarily just equal financial aid. As we've already talked about, there are other ways you get financial aid, which we talked were grants and scholarships, loans, and work study. So the 2021-2022 FAFSA, which that just seems crazy that we're already talking about that, but that will open this year on October 1st. And I bring that up because you've now probably completed the FAFSA once, but you need to renew or submit it again each year you're going to be in school. So if you're going to school in 2021, 2022, you'll have to do the FAFSA again. Now, what's great is you have a login, you already got your FSA ID, all that good stuff. So you can just log back in and it'll auto-populate a lot of your information for you. Really, all you're updating is that tax info. So for the 2020, 2021 FAFSA, I believe you used 2018 taxes. Now for this next FAFSA, you'll need 2019 taxes. And that's just so they're trying to always get the most recent picture of your financial situation, but also because it's really hard to expect the taxes that you just filed because you're still filing them, especially right now with the coronavirus. Let's not even get started into that. So they always try and go back to give you the chance to get that. So if you need to go to that website, that is the website down there to apply for FAFSA. Pardon me. And as I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, if you need help completing your FAFSA, or you have to do corrections, or you have to go through verification, or anything of that nature, you can email the College Extension Center, you can text me, you can email me, and we will help you complete that. Free, no charge. We just want to make sure you're getting everything done and getting ready to go to college in the fall. Now, I do have this infographic on here about the eligibility for federal student aid. Unfortunately, it is federal student aid, so not everyone is eligible, which is unfortunate and stupid, but like a whole other podcast. So this just basically shows that you have to be seeking a degree. You basically have to be, sorry to squint because I did make it really small. Accepted for enrollment, If you're male, you have to be enrolled in selective service. You have to have a social security number, although your parents don't have to have a social security number, but you do. You have to sign some statements saying that you know everything is correct. And then, which we're going to talk about next or soon, is satisfactory academic progress. You have to maintain that to keep your aid. In addition, you have to have one of these criteria. So either be a U.S. citizen or have a green card or have an arrival departure record or have a battered immigrant status or have a special visa. So one of those things must be met for you to be able to qualify for federal student aid. I believe if you go on the website, there on the FAFSA website, there is a way to check and see if you're eligible before you submit it. So FAFSA verification, so you guys completed your FAFSA, maybe you've been selected for verification. People are randomly selected. As I mentioned at the beginning when I introduced myself, I know I was selected at least once. I feel like I was selected more than that, but honestly it was a long time ago, and I feel like I was always doing things for the FAFSA because I was always making corrections or submitting things on my own. I don't recommend doing that. Reach out to help from me or from a financial aid advisor or your academic advisor or a mentor. It makes it a lot easier, but you'll be randomly selected. A lot of times the way you know you're randomly selected is they will either send you an email to your college email address or you'll have to-do list items on your student portal. So for instance, if you're going to Mizzou, you log into MyZoo and there'll be to-do list items and it might say verification forms. You want to click that. If you're going to MCC or STLCC, you'll go to MyMCC or your Banner self-service. Trying to think of if I've covered. They all have different names. So just find whatever your student portal is. Your login information should be on your acceptance letter. And you want to log into that because a lot of times that's the only way they reach out to you is through that. Because they assume once you're accepted and you're ready to go, that's the way they contact you. You'll have to send the forms to your college. So when I say forms get sent to your college, those verification forms you want to send to your college. You don't go back into FAFSA and redo those unless you have corrections. So if you have to make corrections on your FAFSA, which if you do, it's no biggie. I had to make corrections on my FAFSA. It happens. Just make the corrections and move on, resubmit it. But any outside documents like income tax returns, 1099 forms, W-2 statements, things that they want to see to verify your financial aid, those will send to your college. Sometimes you can send them through the portal. Sometimes you email them to your financial aid advisor. But you just want to check and see with your financial aid office how you get those verification documents submitted. Once you get them, you want to submit them ASAP. So if they gave you a deadline, it's very important you meet that deadline because you don't want to have your fall bill come and you haven't submitted your corrections yet, and then you have to pay out of pocket to cover your fall bill because your fall bill will actually come before you've started classes. So you will start classes likely in August and you'll get your fall bill end of June or early July. You have to pay up front. So you want to make sure that you have your FAFSA and everything good to go so that you get your financial aid so you're not paying out of pocket. And then follow up with your school after submission. So even if you log onto your portal and those to-do list items are gone, just make sure that they received it, that everything's good to go. Like I said, you don't want to be left paying out of pocket for school. Financial aid award letter, I'm not going to go in depth on this because if you guys are both attending a school in the fall, you will have already received an award letter from your school. If you didn't, it likely means that something was wrong with your FAFSA or it wasn't applied, so you should reach out ASAP to the financial aid office or your advisor. But this is what an award letter looks like, so you can find your student ID number on it, which you will need to know for the rest of your college career. So get that memorized. You're gonna use it for a ton of stuff. Estimated college costs. So this is kind of like what we talked about earlier for cost of attendance. It's the average of direct and indirect costs. Your EFC will be on there. It'll show any other aid that you're getting. Your financial need will be on there. So that's the EFC subtracted from your college costs. Unmet needs, that's any money that you still need. So earlier we talked about demonstrated need. That's kind of your unmet need. Any money that you still will have to pay. Sometimes we call that your gap. So what's your gap? What do you still owe to be able to go to that school? Award amounts and work study. So the big thing here is just make sure that all of these pieces are on it. This is just an example of one, but you want to make sure that all of these things are on it and then make sure they're correct. So you can always log back into your FAFSA and look at your student aid report and see, oh, this is what my EFC is. Oh, that's not what's showing up on my award letter. You want to make sure that everything's correct. And if it's not correct, reach out to the financial aid office. All right, so I mentioned that we would talk about this earlier, and so I want to make sure I get into it because I think this is something that a lot of students aren't aware of or aren't familiar with. I know I wasn't when I was in college, and it's really important because if you don't meet it, you will lose your financial aid. So satisfactory academic progress, other known as SAP, what a lot of people refer to it as, is basically just policies that have standards that ensure anyone that receives financial aid is making progress towards degree completion. So there's 3 parts involved: cumulative GPA, total credits attempted, and passing grades. So that's why I have the tricycle up on the top, because the way someone explained this to me is that to ride a tricycle, you have to have all 3 wheels. So if one falls off, you can't ride the tricycle. That's kind of what SAP is. If one of these things falls off, you can't get your financial aid. So that means you're paying out of pocket to go to school, because even if you're not meeting SAP standards for your college, that doesn't mean you can't still enroll in classes. They'll still let you enroll. They'll still take your money. You just can't use financial aid to pay for it. So make sure you are understanding of what your SAP policy is. This is an example on here from Mizzou's, just to give you an idea, but all schools do it differently. However, they all include cumulative GPA, total credits attempted, and passing grades. It's just they all have different percentages and GPAs that they expect and total credit hours. So passing grades in 67% of all your graded coursework attempted, maintain a minimum GPA of 1.67, and then 2.0 if you've completed 60 or more credit hours, and then attempted fewer than 180 total credit hours of coursework. So they don't want to see that you've done a ton of credit hours, but you still have a really low GPA. So you want to make sure you're on target to meet all 3 of those. Right from the get-go, meet with your academic advisor and let them know, hey, I need to maintain my financial aid. I can't be paying for school out of pocket. What are some tips that I can do to make sure I'm maintaining SAP status? That's a great way to get that right out of the way. And typically you're going to meet with your academic advisor at the beginning anyways to enroll in courses and get going. So that's a good thing to bring up. And then, like I said, must meet all 3. Got to have all 3 wheels to ride the tricycle. So must meet all 3 criteria to maintain your financial aid. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I hope that this is informative for you. Making an appeal. So if you have to make an appeal, particularly a financial aid appeal, you can do so to get more money. However, only request this and only go through this process if you're not already receiving the max amount of aid. So if you're receiving like max Pell Grant, max subsidized loan, max unsubsidized loan, don't make an appeal because they have no more financial aid they can offer you. But if you're not, and let's say your situation has changed because your parent lost a job due to the coronavirus, or let's say you were in a car accident and now you don't have a car, or let's say you need a computer in the fall, but you don't have any money to pay for it. Quick side story. Last year, I had a bunch of students that were texting me saying, I don't think I can afford a computer. I really want to get a computer. What should I do? And I was like, don't worry about it. Your school's going to have computer labs you can use for free. You'll have a printing quota, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Then we were in a pandemic and everyone got sent home and they needed a computer. So I felt pretty bad for telling that to students. So if you need a computer, you can make an appeal to say, look, I know right now that times are crazy. I might need a computer in the future. You can write an appeal to say, I need a little bit more financial aid to cover my computer cost. You can also appeal to get more money for disability or childcare costs. And what's great about a financial aid appeal is if you go to your school website, it's going to be really hard to find info, but you can use this awesome handy dandy little tool called FormSwift or Swift Student, and it will help you write a financial aid appeal for free. So if you go to this website, if I can get it to work, it's going slow. Sorry, my computer is super slow. So if you go to this website, you'll see all these little things over here to do an appeal. So I'm not going to go through this forever because I value your guys' time. Don't want to keep you here forever. But if you go here, let's say you've had changes since you filled the FAFSA. So let's say you filled the FAFSA last October, right when it opened, and your mom lost her job in March, so she's not getting an income anymore. So you need to make an appeal for more financial aid. You'll go here, you'll click Create My Document, and it will make a form for you. You will create a form. See how it's auto-populating? And as you're answering questions, it will populate. You will download this form, send it to your financial aid advisor from your college email, and that will get the appeal process started. Now, I can't guarantee there's not going to be other paperwork to fill out, but what I can guarantee is this will get the conversation started that you will need to make an appeal and you would like to try to get some more financial aid for the future. So that's a great tool. I also just thought I'd mention a SAP appeal. So if for whatever reason, let's say you lose satisfactory academic progress, you can appeal that. So let's say, for instance, you're doing really well and then all of a sudden someone in your family passes away or you get really sick. Let's say you get the coronavirus in the fall. Fingers crossed none of us get it. But let's say you get it. you can appeal if you lose SAP eligibility by making an appeal. Typically, your school will have a process. You got to complete a form, meet with your academic advisor, and all that good stuff. But I just want you guys to know there are ways you can appeal decisions at your school. This is kind of our last little info slide. So there are a lot of different reasons you would contact your financial aid advisor. There are a lot of usually like bigger schools, especially like Mizzou, Missouri State, UMKC, even SEMO, Rolla, a lot of your bigger schools will have multiple financial aid advisors, but typically students get one assigned to them that is their personal advisor that will know everything about their program. Sometimes they do it like through the alphabet, sometimes they do it by major, but make sure you know who yours is. A lot of times you can find that also on your student portal, but reasons that you would contact your financial advisor. So let's say in the fall, you can't get a hold of me, you're trying to text me and you can reach out to your financial advisor to help renew your FAFSA. You can reach out to your financial advisor when you want to appeal for more financial aid. So we just talked about that great FormSwift tool, but it also doesn't hurt to just email your advisor right away and say, hey, I need to make an appeal. I lost my job and now I'm not going to be able to be making payments. So what can I do to get some more financial aid? If you want to apply for a work study position, starting with your financial aid advisor is a great place to start because they'll know all the work study positions on campus. Financial aid package is incorrect or not showing up. So like let's say you log into your portal and there's no financial aid money in there, you want to reach out ASAP to your financial aid advisor because it could be you could be missing forms, they could have made an error, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be paying out of pocket. So get that figured out. If you want to inquire about a payment plan or loans the school might offer, some schools and universities actually offer loan programs and some have payment plans. So if your gap is, let's say, only $1,000, which is still a lot, there might actually be a payment plan though that could split that up over 5 months. And maybe you're already working a part-time job and you'd be able to make payments to chip away at that without having to take out more loans. So reach out to your financial advisor about that. If you're looking for more ways to get grants and scholarships or like unique ways to get money for school, you can also reach out to your financial aid advisor about that. They might know other databases online. They might know other unique opportunities for you. There could be a lot of different factors. So you want to reach out to your financial aid advisor to see if there's any other ways you can get some more money for school. You'll also reach out to your advisor, or you can, if you want to know how much you're going to pay versus how much you borrowed. So earlier we showed you that, or just me, showed you that loan calculator, which can help you kind of see what money you're taking out versus what money you're actually going to pay. That's another way you can also reach out to your financial aid advisor. You can say, hey, I'm having trouble understanding my borrowing versus all the interest and what I'll actually pay back. Can you help me? And they will absolutely be able to help you with that. And lastly, if you want to get some advice on how or when to make payments on your loans. So we mentioned earlier, remember, if it's a federal loan, you'll get, you won't have to pay those off until after you graduate. And then you'll get that 6-month grace period where no money will be due. But maybe you want to start making some payments here and there. Maybe you want to log in and just start, paying off that interest or getting that overall balance down. Ask your financial advisor for some advice. Hey, do you recommend I should start paying them off now even though they're not due? Or do you think I should wait? And they'll be able to talk with you about your unique situation to kind of help you out there and see if they think it's a good idea. I'm going to take a quick water break. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope you guys learned something new. If you have any questions about financial aid, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I will answer them. If you need more specific help with FAFSA corrections or FAFSA verification or something totally different related to college, you can always reach out to me, reach out to the College Extension Center, and we will provide you with some free help. As I just mentioned, you can always reach out to your financial aid advisor. You should be able to reach out to your academic advisor. Anything you need to get your questions answered to make sure you are ready to go in the fall. Because I don't know about y'all, but time is flying by. I feel like I keep saying this, but March like crawled by. We were stuck in our homes. April, May, and June is just like flown by. I don't know if we're getting used to all this going on or what, but it has flown by. So if you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat. Anything about financial aid? I'll give just like a minute for that, for any and all questions. Alrighty, if there's no questions, we will move forward, I think. So thank you for participating in today's webinar. I hope you guys, like I said, learned something out of it. We will be having another one next Wednesday, only you won't have to just listen to me talk for an hour, because I know that can get boring hearing my voice over and over. We're actually going to have Drew Griffin, who is the Assistant Vice Provost for Admissions and Financial Aid at University of Central Missouri, talk to us about tips to be successful in college. So particularly if you're a first generation college student, or if you're feeling a little nervous and just want to kind of get a leg up on how to be successful, this will be a great webinar for you. It should be anywhere from about 30 to 45 minutes long, give or take. You can register via this link. I will put it in the chat right now, so you can go ahead and register if you are available. It will be great. I'm excited to get someone from outside of MCAC to talk to you guys. And lastly, I have a survey I would love if you could complete to give me some feedback. So I will also put that in the chat, but I will also be sending out the recording of this and this survey link to you guys. So be sure to get that completed. Otherwise, thank you so much for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys learned something. Quick reminder, my name is Brittany. I am the College Transition and Retention Coordinator for Missouri College Advising Corps. I also manage the College Connection Center in the summer. And I am getting ready to hop on right now for virtual advising hours. Actually, I'm going to eat lunch real quick. And then at 2:30, I'm going to hop on. So if you need some help with financial aid or something totally other related to college, you can go to tinyurl.com/getconnected-to-college, and you'll click on the Wednesday advisor link. It'll say Brittany Cleek. It'll say come meet with me. You'll click on that, and I will help you out for free. So thank you again for participating today. I hope you got something out of it. And I hope you join me again next Wednesday. We're going to talk about tips to be successful in college, and it'll be a great time. Hope everyone has a great week. See you next time.